This is Gemara Avodah Zarah Daf Ayin Hey, as we mamish are close to the end of closing out this incredible Masechta. And our learning for this month, the month of Elul, has been generously sponsored by a close friend of the Daf, as Aschos Alias Nishama of Aster Reyzel Basar Meir, B'siyata Dishmaya. The incredible Kayach HaTeira should elevate the Nishama to incredibly high places in Gan Eden Shalmaila and be a Militz Yesher for the entire Mishpacha. We pick it up on the bottom of Ayin Daladum and Beis. Amar Mar. We're about 10 lines to the bottom. The first one is Amar Mar. As we go back to the Dinam of the Braisa, figuring out all the different ways of purifying, being mitayar, kashering different parts of the wine process. So we have three different entities: the wine press, the dipper, and the funnel. The Braisa taught us Rebbe Mater Benigov. Rebbe said, just drive a chamaiship. Ask the Gemara from our Mishnah Vanan Tanan Shal Cheres Alvicha Kolov is a Zefes Hareze Asura. But the Mishnah taught us that if it's made out of Cheres, even if you even if you remove the pitch, it's going to be Aser. So it sounds like everyone is going to agree to this din. The problem is, Rabbi just taught us a moment ago that drying would be enough. Amar Rava save it to Masnisa and Asil Rabbanan. No, that part of the Mishnah is only Lefi, the Shita of the Rabban. So Darash Rava. So continues the Gemara and says, okay, Nava Artechu, a wine press, you have to Artechu, you have to boil it up with scalding water to kasher it. Rava Kiavimesha Gulfi Larpanya. When Rava would send jugs to Harpanya, Sachif Lahu Apumayu, you put them in the sack with the openings downward, V'chatam Lahu Avartzayu, and he would put a seal on the bottom. The Rabbanan said it's usher even if the guy has it for a small amount of time. And therefore, he was extra makbid to make sure that nothing was put into his barrels that he needed. So says the Gemara, now going all the way back. On really yesterday, the top of the Amud, we learned a din in the Mishnah called Nigov, drying off these parts of the wine press. So it says the Gemara, how do you do that? Either with water or with ash. Rav says only with water, not with ash. Rav Chaim says Eifer. Does it mean Daf Eifer, not water? What is the machlokes? Is each one exclusive of the other? Ella, says the Gemara, as we turn over to today's Daf Ayin Amud Aleph, says the Gemara, no, each one is not exclusive of the other. Rav Amar b'mayim. Rav says that the way to clean it, the way to dry it is with water. Vuadin beifer, and certainly with that, leifer, with ash. Arachana Amar leifer. Vuadin lemayim, and explains the Gemara, ve'loi pligi. And there's no machlokes, haberif tabi avesha. Rabbi Arachana says that you first put in the ash is by a moist wine press. When Rav says you first put in water is where a dry wine press. It's Ranami, we learned this din as well. It's Marbi Rav, Mishmei the Rav, Amri Tarti, Talas. He said there's 2 steps, water and then ash. 3 steps, ash, water, then ash if it's moist. Shmuel Amar Talas, Dalid. No, it's either going to be 3 steps, ash, water, and ash, or Dalid, water, and then ash. Besura Masni Achi, that's they learned it in Surah. So Nachamal, everyone is agreeing. Everyone is agreeing to the fact that you need both. And the question just is what the process is. The Yeshiva Rav said over in the name of Rav, Tlas Arba, that you need to have 3 or 4, Tlas or Arba. That's what they learned in Pumbedisa. Shmuel Amar Arba Chamesh. We have a machlokes. How many different steps? When we talk about the ash and the water, how many additional steps are necessary? And it says the Gemara v'loi pligi. In reality, there's no machlokes going to mark chashav maya batzrayo or mar chashav maya batzrayo. The shayla just is: are they counting the final rinsing process of the water at the end? Says the Gemara, Hani Gurgi Daramayo. The Gurgi of Armaya, another part of the wine press, a part that wraps around the grapes when you press it. ubeis badav tameim. These parts of wine press were tummy. Ubikish asasa b'tayra. Hadaf and va'adashim. So the boards and the adashim lovim and the basins and the brooms medachon. What do you have to do? You just rinse them off. Akolin shall not trim. But the nettings of wicker, v'shel batzpots of hemp, menagvan, you dry them. V'shel shifa, v'shel gemim, yashdim azachodesh. That's not going to be enough just to dry them. You're going to have to wait 12 months. Rashbag menicham legas. Says Rashbag, then no, you leave them from one to the next. That's going to be enough. And umibad lebad, you're not going to need a full 12 months, but it's going to be enough from one pressing to another pressing, from one season to another season. Says the Gemara, Hainu Tanakama. What's the chalik? That seemingly is the Tanakama. That season to season is seemingly the same thing. Says where no, when the season comes early, that will be the chalik between the two shitos. Va'afli, or a season that comes late. Rav Yesi Omer, meaning a stam season, you're right, will be 12 months, but there are times that will end up being earlier or later. Rav Yesi Omer, miyad. Let's say you want to right away purify it. You boil it up in boiling water, or you scald them with olive water. No, you put it under a pipe of flowing water. Or you put it in a spring of running water. How long do you have to leave it there? For a period of time, which we'll see in a moment what exactly that means. Says the Gemara, says the Gemara, whoa, 1 second. I mean, we're talking about Tairos. Ella, you know what's going on over here? So says Gemara, okay, so fine, but what does this mean? What does it mean in Oina? It's either a day or a night. Rav Chana She'ina, that's his name. V'amri la Rav Chana Bar She'ina, Rav Chana Rav Yechon Chatziyim v'chatzah. Not a full day or night, but a half a day and half a night. Omer Shobar Yitzchak v'lei Pligi, Habit Kufas Nisan v'Tishrei, Habit Kufas Tammuz v'Teves. The difference will be whether it's a longer day or a shorter day, the winter or the summer. Continues the Gemara. Let's go back to more utensils and exactly how you purify them. Amar Rav Yehuda, Hani Ravki. Says Rav Yehuda, the Ravki deramaya, the sacks, the sediment sacks deramaya, demazia madichon. If it's made of human hair, you wash them. The amra, if it's made out of wool, menagvin, you dry them. The kisna, if it's made out of linen, miyashnon, you have to wait 12 months. Vika katri, but if they're not, what do you got to do? Sharilu, first have to untie them. Continues Rav Yehuda, Hani dekuli v'chal ota. If you have sieves and challah from the bees, the beehives, taramaya, the chiti v'chavla tetzuri madichin. If they're made with palm madichin, you rinse them off. Titzavta, as we turn over Talmud Beis, if they're made out of savta, different material, what do you have to do? Linagvin, you dry them. The kisna, if it's made out of linen, then miyashin, you have to wait 12 months. V'yisbu kitri nachamol, and if there are not, what do you got to do? Then you have to dry it off. Says the Gemara, Itmar Nami, we learned similarly, Ama'aretz shayishid yada legas. And Ama'aretz that sticks his hands into the wine press, V'naga ba'ashkalais, and he touches a cluster of grapes. Rebbe v'Rav Chia, Chadam ra'ashkal v'chol sviyoseh tameim v'chol achas kula ta'ahira. The wine, the grapes are tamei, but not the gas, the press. Chadam v'chol achas kula nami tamei. Ulamanda Amar eshkol chosev tameim. According to the first sheet, v'chol achas kula ta'ahira is ma'ishana. Why is that true? Why would it be that the gas is tar? But we learn if you find the sharis in your rechayim, in your mill, the place that it touches, but if there's liquid running, then I call tamei. So why over there is the entire press going to be tamei, whereas by us that's not going to be the case? Says the Gemara, just a part that the person touched will be tamei. Says the Gemara, hasam loy mafsika v'loy midi hacha mafsika ashkaloi. So if there nothing separates over here, there is a separation of the cluster of grapes. Earlier, Rabban the Rav Yimri, Rabban the Braid, the Rav Yimri, Kedivrei Oimer Ashkol said tameim choligas kula tahiros. A raya like the shita that we just said, that what the entire gas, the eshkol, and everything around it will be tamei. But the gas itself is going to be tahar. Says the Gemara, Now that we learned all the different parts of the wine press, let's take that and let's apply that to stam different items bought from a guy. Says the Mishnah, the way that it's used is the way that it's cleansed. If it's something that's immersed, you immerse it. If it's something that's purged, if it's boiled up, you boil it up. Labin ba'ar, yilabin ba'ar, hashvod v'asachla. If you have a spit or a grill, malaban ba'ar, hasachin shafa v'tayra, a knife, you have to scrape it off. This is the classical yisoid of kibolai kachpaltai. The way the item is used is going to be the way the item is cleansed. Tana, but says the Mishnah, even though there are certain items that we just said you have to be magil, certain items, different ways of purifying them, but everything you bought it from a guy. So of course, v'kulan tzrichin tvila. After it's going to be kashered, of course, you need to be toiveling it. That what? First it's yava beish, and then vitar becomes pure. That after it's yava beish, then what? Then it is vitar. From the fact that it says in the waters of the nida, I would have thought it needs sprinklings of the ashes of the paraduma on third and seventh day. Cholak splits it off and came out this one he may need. Mayim shenida tevelosban have oimer arbaim sa. So that's going to be 40 sa. So says the Gemara, let's understand why we now need to have two different psukim, because we just had a different bus that said arbaim sa. So why? It seems to be repetitive to teach us both. Because of vitar, avamina vitar, koldu. Because Rachmana may need, because Rachmana may need, avamina erev shemesh kinida. The special din of a nida, that tefillah is not going to be enough. You're also going to need erev shemesh. Says Mer, because Rachmana vitar, that la altar. The right after it goes into the mikvah, it's going to be tahar. Now, what items are included in this day? Number of Nachman, number of Avua, filu kelim chadashim b'mashma. Even new utensils are part of this halacha. Even new utensil bought from the guy. We live them kichadashim damu. Because you buy a used utensil from a guy, and then you kasher it. Now its status is like chadashim, like it's new, and yet what? We just said it needs to be toiveld, and therefore it says the Gemara, all items bought from a guy, new and old, are all going to require tefillah. So we conclude with one last kasha. Even if you buy a scissor, should require tefillah. As we wrap up the mesechta over here, we have the gems of what are the halachas of tevilas kelim. Says the Gemara, not any entity, only an entity used in su'uda. Only items that were bought, and like the story of the Muhammad Midian, if you borrow something from a guy, it does not need tefillah. Yosef Zavan Mana de Marda me'akum. You bought a Marda from a guy. No, you don't have to tell it. It has to only be made of metal. And Amrav Ashi on Ikleis Chuches, famously, since in glass, since when it breaks, you can put it back together like metal, as a din of metal. So we learned three incredible qualifications of tefillah. It's going to be metal, glass, or any clay su'uda that are purchased and not borrowed. And whether it's new, whether it's old, if it's old, it's first kasher, and then toivold. If it's new, it has to just be toivold. We'll pick it up from here. B'siyata dishmaya.